Okay, gang. Um, we're about to start, but we're having some technical difficulties. Okay, and well, it's women, am I right? So they're late. We're getting it set up. Mooncake on time, early, ready to go. The rest having some troubles. We'll get it fixed. We'll get it sorted. Can I get one of my mods, if you're in the chat, can I get one of my mods to go backstage and help Catnip out? She's struggling with the everything, I guess, and we'll get her sorted, hopefully. Um, but yeah, I really want this to go well, but it looks like, gang, it looks like we are having a struggle session. How have women creators failed women? Well, by not showing up. I'm gonna DM Stardust, see where she is. DM Mid, see where she is, and we will try to get this sorted. Again, Mooncakes was here, ready to go. Everyone else having trouble. Catnip was here, but she's having a struggle session with the tech. We'll get it fixed. So just how's everyone doing? Hope everyone's doing good today. We'll get this good. We'll get this sorted. And we'll get this going. Give me a second.
Yeah, sorry, wait. I'm still here. I'm just doing something on my
No,
computer.
it's fine.
Okay.
No, you're good. You're good. I'm just trying to wrangle everyone else.
Sometimes things, listen, greatness takes time. Maybe they're doing something important.
I don't know, but they need to be here because they said they'd be here. Okay, Catnip can get back here, but can we hear you? Okay, can we see you? Try your camera. Is there anything working? Is any of it working? No one's working here. Nothing's working. Beautiful, wonderful, excellent. This is just what I wanted for my stream today. Just what I wanted. Damn. Okay. Guess what, gang? Okay, hopefully Stardust can help her out. Let's see. Stardust, hi. Are you here?
Yeah, sorry about that. My camera wasn't working.
You know what? Nothing's working for anyone today. Catnip's having a struggle. Can you do me a favor? And maybe I'm not saying it right. Maybe I'm not telling her the correct issues or what to do. Can you DM her and help her? She's struggling right now. And this one's a struggle session, Stardust. This one's a struggle session.
Video is not loading for some reason. Can't hear you all, and video isn't loading for me. Also can't type in chat.
I gave her a role so she could just jump in case it was that. All right. She's able to chat in this chat. So that's working. You guys can see her little chats coming up on my screen. Yeah, yeah. Look. How's your settings doing? Like, if you go to voice and video, like if you click the little gear icon and go to voice and video, do you have the correct mic and camera set up?
Okay, yeah, they're good. You guys are just spinning a wheel for me. That's interesting. Have you tried restarting your computer? I don't know if she's able to hear us.
I don't know either. I just don't know what's going on. Okay. Okay. And the person who asked me to do this panel has not yet showed up either. And I'm going to be real with you guys. I'm frustrated. Kind of upset.
I'm sorry.
It's not your fault. You didn't ask me to do this, right? Person's like, hey, I want to do a panel where I want to talk about how women have failed other women in this space. And I was like, that seems like an interesting subject. Let's do this. Let's set this up. I pulled together a whole panel for this, and here we are.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to DM them one more time.
Maybe we can get a fill-in woman who's willing to argue that.
A fill-in woman. Okay, look, I'm putting out a call. I'll argue it.
I'm willing to be like, you know,
because I think women have failed other women in this space, but it comes better from a woman, right? So I'll argue the point, but
I can also, you know, so I don't really understand I assume that this person's coming from the stance of like sex work.
no, just women creators
Really?
in general.
Oh, okay. All right. Interesting.
I can make the argument. I talked with them about we're gonna give 𝕾𝖍𝖙 and her. Let's give them another 2 minutes, 2 to 5 minutes, and if we can't get this going, we'll make do, gang. We'll make do. To my audience, gang, I apologize. I try to have a little more production value, if you will, and get things set up. I don't know. Everything seems to be going wrong today. But we will figure it out. Give me one moment. They were there just not an hour ago, right? Not an hour ago they were there, but
maybe their power got knocked out or something, or maybe they're dead. You know?
I hope not. I
Maybe
hope
they
not. Both, like, at least
How
not
bad
dead.
would you feel if they were dead?
I
right
would.
now?
I would feel terrible. I would feel terrible.
BRB.
Okay.
Well, tell you. How about this? If they don't
My
come,
stomach hurts.
sure. If they don't come in the next, first of all, 𝕾𝖍𝖙, can you hear us yet? No. No, apparently not. Oh! Okay. Okay. You know what? That's fine. How about this? If you both are amenable, we'll start the discussion, we'll have the talk, and then we'll open it up to callers so people can come in and talk about their problems with women. Right? Is that okay? Is that something you'd be willing to do?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Sounds
Okay.
good. Okay. Welcome to yet another episode of WhickTV, a cross-ideological space where we come together to talk about issues both political and cultural, from the silly to the serious. Sometimes we have better times than others, but we get this party going, we get this party started. And today we're going to be talking about women content creators, their role in this space, their responsibility in this space, and if they have failed in their responsibilities towards other women in this space. And I guess I'll start by allowing, I guess I'll just start by asking this question to both of you. What responsibility do women have in this space? Do they have any? Is there anything that women who go into content creation, streaming, video essays, etc., what kind of responsibilities do they have? What do you think?
I don't know. So I'm one of these people that I don't know that there's necessarily a responsibility per se. I do think that it would be nice for people to hold themselves to certain standards, but like as far as responsibility goes, like that, I feel like that's putting a lot on people. Like, do men have responsibilities to other men
I think they do.
as content creators?
I think
Really?
they do,
Okay.
right?
What kind of responsibilities?
So men have the responsibility to uphold certain standards, right? And not to fall into certain traps. Let me give you an example. I think Andrew Tate has failed in his responsibility to men. That's an easy example to understand. He's someone who did have some success, who did have some fame, who did have some eyeballs on him, but instead he's decided to just chase the clout, to chase the money, and has poisoned the well for a lot of other men. He has created this false persona that will lead other men to kind of chase it and try to imitate him and try to do what he does to match his success. But it's a path towards destruction, right? It's a path of lies and deceptions, etc. And it's a problem, right? Do you disagree? Go ahead.
Sorry, just to jump in there. Kind of what Stardust was saying is that I do think women have some sort of responsibility, not fully, because you are allowed to do whatever you want, right? People shouldn't be able to follow anyone's whims. However, I do think if you have a decent amount of women doing similar content, sexualized or not, it may become an expectation. But I think the expectation is also pushed by the men, right? Once they see a few women, for example, and this is not to like shit on OnlyFans or anything, but once they see a few women doing it, they're expecting everybody to do it. And I think that's a major issue as well that we need to consider.
Absolutely. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. First of all, Mid, welcome. Hi.
Hey.
Hi.
You're muted on your end, so you'll have to unmute for us to hear you. Say something so we can hear you.
Hello.
Okay, I just want to make sure it works because we've been having a struggle. Okay, we've been having a struggle. Catnip's having some technical issues, and well, you just got here. First of all, are you okay?
True.
Everything good?
Yeah, I was just fashionably late, I guess.
That's okay. We'll talk about that later. But here you are. So
I hear the anger.
yeah. So how about let's just start off. I asked the question to Stardust and to Mooncake, and I'll ask the same question to you. What responsibility do women have, if any, in this space? What do you think?
Oh, so like, if I'm gonna be honest, the responsibility is, of course, there if you feel like you can give it, in a way. And in a way, I don't think like a lot of women know how to do that anyway, if that makes sense. Like, they're not always aware of their position when giving advice.
What do you mean?
So, like, I don't want to like basically point any fingers, especially to something like feminism, for example. Like, I don't want to I feel like they explain to I guess actually, what do you call it? I feel like they explain to actually properly apply it to people's everyday circumstances sometimes.
To fail that women content creators, and so this is what you're saying, just so I understand, that women content creators fail to apply the standards of feminism properly. What do you mean? Can you give me this example? I know you don't want to point fingers, but you really kind of just got to give us an example so we can kind of bite into it, right?
All right, true. So kind of let's say just any sort of women's movement, right? There's often just a lot of criticisms of something like, how do we apply it basically to the wire masses? And I want to say okay, unfortunately, Gamergate had this excuse me?
The wider masses. Okay, sorry. I didn't.
Okay, so I think it's more so unfortunately, I want to talk about Gamergate simply because that's one of the huge examples that I feel like a lot of people have gotten their own ideas on. And everybody knows it kind of all started off with I guess a feminist doing it, as well as I guess I don't know, blaming all these ideas of what a feminist is and what they're doing and whatnot in the wider corporate industry that I kind of want to, I guess, bring back, because it's not just feminism, right? They're just trying to find a way to place women in certain industries, but I guess in a believable manner, if that makes sense.
Okay.
You're talking about representation?
Yeah, exactly, representation.
Okay.
One second. Tell you what, that actually might work. I'm going to try this real quick. You guys stay. I'm going to try to see if the group call thing, if that will work there for her. because I really want Catnip here. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. 1 second, please.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, gang, I hate it so much. Start a video call. Oh, God, if this doesn't work, I don't know what to do. Hello? Catnip, can you hear me? Catnip. No? Cool. Sorry. Catnip. I don't think this is gonna work out. Oh, no.
Some
Oh,
guy like, oh,
sorry about that. Okay, this I don't think Catnip's gonna. I don't think Catnip's gonna make it. Okay. She's. I think it's just not gonna work. Okay. Reset.
so yeah, I was asking, so I guess like specifically in what way do you mean like, you know, women have failed women in terms of like Gamergate? Like I can say that like I look back at Gamergate and certain like starting points like Zoe Quinn's ex posting that huge manifesto about her it seemed like a bit much. Though I can see why you know people within the games industry were suspicious of collusion. But at the same time, like that whole thing kicked off with this manifesto written about Zoe and accusing her of like sleeping with multiple people when this guy is suspected to be an abuser. But I guess that yeah, that's what I would ask. Like, what exactly do you mean?
I think it's more so like I totally agree that the whole thing like got like attention based basically off of the Moonfesto, right? But it's more so like the fact that those ideas kind of latched on to, I guess, like basically something else that was like a wider movement of, I don't know, I would say like a collective of just angry gamers with, of course, like politics, right? But it's kind of like this is just the idea that they have of like women in the space, right? So it's almost kind of like um, you have to somehow counter that sort of rumor with basically like actual like evidence sometimes with these people and actually know how to communicate with these people as well without necessarily being like, oh, they're all just angry gamers or like
Yeah.
incels or something like
Do
that.
you
Like I think that was the mistake in a way that they did
I would agree with you. Yeah,
was
I
quite
would agree.
literally like labeling
Yeah,
them as like a whole, I guess like incel movement in a way. And
yeah.
in some spaces it's true, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, so I can agree with you that like, you know, there are a lot of women who operate online who are not effective communicators, especially with like more male audiences, more conservative audiences. That's definitely something that I've seen. And you know, there's like the stereotype of the triggered feminist, which is something that I like personally try to combat pretty frequently. So I can agree with you on that. I guess I'm still just having trouble. Do you think that that's the failure? Them
well
like failing
here?
women in not being able to represent feminism properly, or
Let me ask this because me and Mid talked about this, and let me try to help things out here.
okay?
And ask a question to the panel. As you're all female content creators to various extents, do you, do you feel that you have to perform or that you feel pressured to act or not act in certain ways because people might look either down on you or it will go bad for you? And in what ways do you feel pressures from this space to perform as women for your audience? Let's talk about that for a little bit, if we can, and maybe we can kind of just go from there. And I want to start with Mooncake on this one, if I may. Go ahead.
Um,
So you're pretty new to this space. What kind of
yeah,
pressures have you felt?
I am like really new, so I wouldn't really call myself a content creator per se. But even just like dipping my toes into that world, I do think there is an expectation of women to be a little bit more docile, a little bit more quiet, reserved, maybe not as hard. on certain opinions, just in certain spaces. I'm not saying that's everywhere, but I do think there's also an expectation for us to be more, like, this is a derogatory term, but bimbo-ish, if that makes sense, to bring in more viewers, be nicer to like these online men. And I think that's a little odd because I have seen it. And so it's just something I've recently experienced. So
Okay. What about you, Stardust?
Yeah, I think when I first entered the Twitch poll space, in particular, and it's weird because I don't really know if that the Twitch poll space necessarily exists as it used to. But when I first entered it, I certainly had a lot of trouble like getting my opinions in. I often had to like really push my way into a conversation or be just outright obnoxious to be able to say my point. But as time has gone on, I do agree that either the expectation is to be kind of docile or to be successful, that you have to kind of take up masculine attributes. Um, and so like, yeah, it's not really a space. You have to kind of remember that majority of your audience members are male. At least majority of mine are, and I am trying to relate to them, even though I'm not a male. Um, and so part of that is one thing that I really strive for is, again, that triggered feminist kind of like stereotype that there is online. That's something that I really, really try to combat. I really, really try to uh, like not be that essentially. And sometimes that works against me because I'm like, I literally don't react to things that are supposed to trigger people, and then people think that I'm being a pushover if I don't act triggered towards it, I guess. Whereas like on the more conservative side, it's like, oh, this person isn't triggered, whatever, you know. So
Okay.
yeah, I don't know. It's tough. I mean, there's obviously a looks part that plays into this. When every single person does OnlyFans, definitely can be, you know, very
Is that a failure
what is
of
it?
women, though? Right? Like,
I don't know that's a failure. I think that these are
Mhm.
just complexities in the online space, you
I
know?
interesting. Go
I
ahead.
would actually
Yeah.
argue that OF, and this is not once again against any sex workers. I believe you should be able to do
Yeah.
whatever you want. I just think the way it has impacted the younger generation of women does concern me a little bit. I'm just afraid of young women leaving high school, for example, and thinking that as soon as they turn 18 or 19, the best idea is to start an OnlyFans without considering something else they may enjoy. Like the money is good, but if we're all being honest as a society, there is judgment there, right? You will be
Yeah.
labeled a certain thing. And these young women really do need to consider it. So when people are just promoting the money and the lifestyle, I'm like, you really have to think about if it's for you, right? Because it's going to be there
Yeah.
forever.
And the average person on OnlyFans doesn't actually make that much, right? The average
Exactly.
person, I think, makes like $200 a month. So
Yeah.
I think that like like the oversaturation of porn in general is bad. I think the porn industry is bad, and I do think OnlyFans is a safer alternative to that. But I do agree with Mooncakes that essentially, you know, people are making that decision way too early. I feel like people probably shouldn't even make that
I think
start
we're
thinking about that until
I'm
they're
going
like
to be
30.
clear with you, gang. I think we're
Yeah.
dancing around it, right? I think we are just trying not to offend people, but we're dancing around it. I think that there is a conversation to be had. The massive amounts of, well, I won't say massive, but a sizable amount of female content creators who do, again, use OnlyFans to get successful and push their OnlyFans for their success to make money and things like that. I think, and I'm going to be clear with it, that does a disservice to women in this space. It sets an expectation, right? It sets an expectation that other women who want to get into this space feel like, well, maybe I kind of have to do this to be successful. Maybe it's something I really should look into. We see a huge increase, right, of people going into this.
Yeah.
Do women have a responsibility to not engage with that in order to help women who may not want to, etc., feel comfortable getting into this space? What do we think?
Mm.
I do kind of think that they should be very obvious of the reality of it in a sense. like especially in cases where, like, let's say if you like work like actually in some type of porn thing, right? Or, you know, prawn, who knows? It's just kind of like you have to also realize that you're also working with like producers, with people who are in various aspects, like sort of like giving you the production to be in this film, right? Like there could be a way to where, you know, you're kind of like just cut out most of what's being even made in that sort of thing. And we see this a lot, I would say, in the industry where it was kind of like a lot of stars would be like, oh, I've made, technically they made like 200K or something in a video, right? But then the star only made like 10K or something at most. Like, that's
Well,
pretty
yeah,
exploitive, right?
it is, but we're not. I don't want to make this just kind of like a pornography, OnlyFans, sex work debate because we don't even have to go as far as OnlyFans to look at what's happening. Women who we all know that the Twitch audience, at least online creation, most live streaming audiences are male. Does anyone disagree with that? It's
Nope.
male dominated. Appeals to male gaze, as they will. So there is a pressure and an expectation for female content creators to play into that. They don't even have to go as far as OnlyFans, right? But to play into that, they want to get viewers, they want to get popular, they want to get in there. So I mean, just take a look through Twitch. Almost all, and this applies to men too, but less so to men, right? Almost all male content or female content creators, they've done their makeup. They don't just get like I can get out of bed, literally get out of bed, get on stream. No one says shit to me.
But I think that's a privilege for men, though, that women unfortunately don't have, right? Because you can just get out of bed and get on
Yeah.
stream and people will watch you. But unfortunately, women understand that sex sells, their sexuality sells. That's what these, because Twitch is mainly like men, right? On Twitch, like the users, I believe, same thing with like Reddit. They know that's what's going to get them probably more like large audiences, right? The same way for you guys, you can just get on and stream. I just think that's where we see that disadvantage.
Yeah, I don't know that necessarily it's like makeup is something that women is so ingrained into like the aspect of being a woman, at least
Yeah.
in the West, right? It's something that's so ingrained that like there are some women I've known who won't let their husbands see them without makeup on. There are some women who won't leave the house without makeup. And so we can try to criticize the use of makeup, but at the end of the day, that is just so ingrained. I don't know that that's a failure of women as much as it's just a toxic aspect of like female culture in a sense.
But don't we have
What I
a
would say,
just as such men, right? I think men have a responsibility to fight back against the toxic aspects of their culture, right? Of culture towards them, right? To not be toxically masculine, to not be overly testosterone filled, etc. I think that men do have a responsibility not to play into those stereotypes. I would argue
right?
that women have also a responsibility, even though it makes you money, even though it's good, not to play into the, as Mooncake put it, bimbo stereotype, the
Right.
over sexualized stereotype,
If I
etc.
can, I would say that I think that, I think the makeup thing is a much loftier goal. I think probably a better goal for women is maybe not like overtly sexualizing yourself on stream, right? Because when you see like all of Just Chatting filled with female streamers who are overtly sexualizing themselves, it does draw a very toxic audience, and that toxic audience will go to your stream even if
Mhm.
you're not somebody who's doing that. And that is a way I can definitely see a disservice towards women in the space, because you get these toxic audiences that are used to seeing these bimbo type people who are sexualizing themselves on stream, and then they go to another female streamer and they don't even engage in what you're covering or what you're doing, right? So,
Absolutely. I want to try to get Mid in here again too.
yeah.
Mid, what are your thoughts on this?
Honestly, I also just believe that in a way, like, there actually isn't that much of a pressure to wear makeup. Well, there is, right? Like, it does create a better image overall. But I want to say, like, especially in a streamer's case, like, it's not really believable. If anything, it's more believable when I feel like a streamer, especially with male streamers, kind of like come in and sort of like, I don't know, just relax and play a game sort of thing. But at the same time, I mean, there's no reason women can't do it either. It's just kind of like, I would say with like everybody, right? You kind of have to know what you look like, what you look best in a sense. And, you know, um, that you don't have to do that all the time when you're on, you know, camera. If anything, people know that you typically like don't really
Sure.
look like that a lot on
But
camera,
we're
right?
talking
And
about the
that's
people, right? We're talking about the female content creators, right? Who
yeah,
and male content creators who play into their stereotypes too. But today's about women, gang. The women content creators who purposefully, in order to make money, play up these stereotypes to appeal to the male gaze. I would argue that that has a chilling effect for women who don't feel comfortable doing that, who don't feel they can do that, who don't feel successful doing that, to think, well, this is what all the other women are doing. Even the smart ones are doing this. I just don't know if I could ever compete with this. I don't even know if I could even get to this space. It just creates this self-fulfilling prophecy loop, right?
yeah.
I don't know.
And I honestly just believe that it's kind of like there just has to be more pushback against it. Like in a way, better ideas kind of just spread better within different like people. And I feel like you just have to kind of like tune into that more, if that makes sense. Like for the makeup thing, like in a way, it's both like a what do you call it? Like I personally like makeup mostly as a costume, if I'm gonna be honest. But that's, you know, that's literally my thing, right? When I'm usually on makeup, I just know that I'm gonna be in costume. And that's the thing. Like sometimes people believe that what they see is a costume, and so it's harder to sell a certain image. If does that make sense? It's almost like they have that subconscious like way of like unveiling you. Cause like, okay, I do want to bring up something like 𝕾𝖍𝖎𝖙, for example. Like since she's one of the biggest streamers, I think one of the biggest criticisms I've heard of her is literally like, oh, this is how she looks without makeup, and it's like, so what sort of thing, right? But in a way, that's kind of like how it turns certain people away from her, if that makes sense.
I'm going to be real.
I honestly, I don't understand. I'm gonna be real. Like, sorry, Wick. I do not understand this panel still. I have no fucking idea where we're going. I have no idea what exactly women have done specifically to fail. Like, I think that we came to a somewhat coherent point with women, you know, sexualizing themselves and attracting toxic audiences. But other than that, I'm gonna be real. I have no fucking idea.
I'll give you another
what
one.
the premise
I
of
mean,
this
it's
is.
like,
I'll give you another one. You guys ready for this? Okay, I come planned. I had this written down. Okay. I'll say this. The girl gang on Twitch has gone too far. Let me explain what I mean by that. So there is this tendency for because females, right, women are more of a rarity in the Twitch sphere, they tend to band together. This is tribalistic, it's natural. But they also, unfortunately, because they feel outnumbered, because they have all these other pressures that are, you know, true pressures, real pressures, they will sometimes uphold real toxic actors within their space simply because they're also female. This isn't all the time. This isn't all of them, but there is a lot of that happens, right? You can't criticize
Who are you
women,
talking about?
right? If a woman does something wrong, okay, there is a tendency for other female creators to do one of two things. Either be extra critical towards them in a way they would never be towards men, or excuse every single thing they've done, right? I think we can all
What are you
think of
talking
some
about
examples.
specifically?
Well, we can
I
look at
can't think of
𝕬𝖎.
any.
We can look at
Okay,
𝕬𝖎.
Lav.
Yeah?
All right.
You think that's a good example? I think that's a great
Um,
example.
I think okay, so maybe I am just part of a different group here, but I feel that most of the women that I knew who interacted with Lav went pretty hard on her.
Yes,
No?
maybe extra hard, perhaps. As like I
Yeah,
said, there's
maybe
two
extra hard.
ways, right? You either go extra hard if you do not conform, right? Or, right, you are excused of your actions. And I think that this happens, it creates, again, it's called the girl gang. It's a real thing, right? You don't run afoul of the girl gang or you're in trouble. And I think that this manifests in a way that actually harms women trying to get into this space. They feel like they have to conform to this, or else they're left out of a lot of things. That doesn't mean they still can't succeed. Obviously, we have examples of that happening all the time, but it does make it harder for them. Um,
I'm
Go ahead.
But in that same breath, I do feel like there's also like a boy gang because a lot of the times men tend to protect each other. If something happens on Twitch, men tend to stick by each other. Sometimes some men will stick by women, but sometimes I feel like that's more just of like a performative thing. And I think we can tell the difference. I think
Can you?
women, yeah, I think sometimes you can tell the difference. I think women do tend to stick together because it is just a better idea. Unfortunately, you're going to run into some creepos, and I think just hanging out with the women is always a good idea. Also, I don't think it's just a woman thing. I think it's an attractive thing. I think attractive people get off with more than what regular people would. So I don't think it's just like a gender thing. I really do think if you have an attractive male streamer who's popular, he can get away with a lot as well.
I agree with that.
Can
Being
you give an
attractive
example
will.
of a popular, attractive male streamer that has gotten
Didn't
away with something?
didn't Corey Kenshin and Markiplier, they had the same issue. I remember they were playing that video game, right? And Markiplier was able to upload a certain part of the video, and he never got it taken down or something, but Corey Kenshin did.
There's
They
also
never took it away.
Hamas Abi, we can talk about Hamas Abi.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Hassan blatantly has like people in his chat who just the other day were harassing somebody who with anti-Semitic language, and he's got tons of people in his chat who are doing everything but condemning the actions of Hamas October 7th, but having any sympathy for the victims of October 7th. And he's still around, you know? We've got
Yeah.
Frogan. Frogan is somebody who straight up said that, oh, when you guys talk about revolution, but when it happens in the Middle East, you guys, you guys don't like it or whatever. Like, that was October 7th that she tweeted that out, the day of the massacre. I'm sorry, but these are things that, uh, people should not get away with.
They shouldn't, but they often do, right? And I think that, again, we can say that men, it happens to men too, and it happens to attractive men too. But I wonder, and I am curious, right? Like when women perform poorly, right? One of the reasons that a lot of women were mad at Lav, for example, was because she made those accusations, baseless accusations. Um, do women have a responsibility to be more careful with their language in these things? As unfair as that may be, just because of the stereotype and the prejudice against women in these spaces?
I do agree, because in a way, it's just like when they just hear certain terms, they're always going to hear like literally just that, you know? Since most of our audience is oh my God, men, it's like you're going to have to know how they're going to talk about certain, like, people and speeches. Like, I don't know, she's on like a turf arc, I think, right now. So it's like, so are all women that talk about feminism now turfs, I guess? Or rad femmes? I don't know.
I
There,
will say that
go ahead.
I do think that there is an issue where like anybody who talks about the unique experiences of cis women is automatically labeled a turf, even if they're like pro trans rights. And I think that there's a serious issue there because there are differences, there are differences in the experiences, and we need to be able to acknowledge that. There's nothing like, there, just like trans women have unique experiences that I could never know. Um, I do think that that is a huge disservice that I see women doing to other women, where they automatically label them turfs and stuff like that. So
Has that happened to you, Mooncake?
Yeah.
Do you want to
A
share the
couple of
story?
times.
You
I
want to share?
told you today. Yeah, I was on live and I got into an argument over trans rights and like to immediately well, not even trans rights. It was just about like I don't exactly agree with childhood transitioning to an extent. But as soon as you are even critical just a little bit, you're called transphobic. And I think that was really odd. That was definitely surprising to me. I never experienced that before.
Do you think women get that more often than men?
I actually,
Because
I
I would say yes, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
sometimes,
they
yes.
do.
I think cis women especially get attacked more, even if they criticize it a little bit. They just say, "Hey, like we don't agree with this." I do think it is easier to attack women, unfortunately, especially cis women, right? Because we don't really have anything to say back, and if we do say something back, it's inappropriate or transphobic.
yeah, one thing I would say is that there's one thing that I will say for sure of women in media spaces, and that is that women in media spaces seem to get viciously attacked in ways that I feel are disproportionate. But yeah, I do think I agree with Mooncake. You know, not everybody who opposes every single thing under the sun. Sorry, how do I phrase this? Not everyone who opposes a certain thing, part of like the more progressive movement or part of the more, left wing trans movement is necessarily transphobic, right? You can be pro trans rights, you can be pro, medical care for trans people while still having concerns about, hey, maybe we shouldn't be watering down medical language. Maybe we shouldn't be calling things a period that aren't a period. Maybe we should, maybe doctors have a reason to ask what your biological sex is, right? These are not things that are transphobic. These are things that are just like, there's a utility in knowing these things. And they're not transphobic. And so people will latch onto that and like go super hard on it. I think of like Anna Kasparian just talking about birthing person, and people freaked out about that. And I get that there's anti-transphobic like rhetoric, but there's also been anti-women rhetoric, right? We had Roe v. Wade overturned, right? Of course, birthing person feels weird to her, you know?
That's a great example. Simply because, again, to the panel's point, she just got much more flack than anyone else over there did, right? Like Senk got a little pushback too. Let's not. He got criticism as well for his takes, for standing with her and stuff like that. That absolutely happened, but the vitriol towards her was even worse. So I guess let's turn the question around a little bit. What responsibility do we all have towards female content creators, if any? Like, do we have any sort of responsibility? Like, should I be extra careful when going or talking to a female on a panel or things like that? Should I what's the play here? Because I'm of mixed minds. Okay.
One thing I will say is that when getting into arguments with people, what really irritates me is whenever somebody implies that I feel like I'm being wronged because of my gender or because of my race when I've never brought it up.
What do you
That
mean?
is
Can you give us an example of that?
Yeah, so if I'm in an argument with somebody and I'm saying I don't think you're being fair here, and then they say, "Oh, it's because you're a woman, it's because you're a brown person," right? As if to say that I'm saying that is why I don't feel like I'm being treated fairly. That I find super irritating, because you're assigning something to me that I don't believe, that I haven't ever expressed, and by assigning that to me, you're like getting all of these people who don't know me to think that I think that way, in a sense, if that makes sense.
It does. And I think that's
Yeah.
a very great point, right?
Yeah.
I think that women have a responsibility here, and we have a responsibility towards female content creators. I think female content creators don't play that card if it's not happening. I see that happen too much. they will play that card because I'm treating them like I treat everyone else. And
Yeah.
that frustrates me. On the same token, right? I don't need to white knight for anyone, right? I don't need to jump in and be a shield for anyone. If I do that, I am robbing women of an opportunity to play at the same level and to the same degree that men are expected to play in these spaces. And I think that's a shame.
Yeah.
So I think that there's like a double responsibility here. Absolutely, women do get much more vitriol than men, but don't play that card unless it's actually happening, right? Because
I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you.
When you're playing that card, just real quick, when you're playing that card and everyone can see it's just not happening, what you do is when it does happen, no one believes you anymore. You cried wolf, right? And that sucks.
Yeah.
But go on, please.
Yeah, that goes two ways, right? Just as women shouldn't be claiming just randomly that that they're being treated a certain way because of sexism or because of their race. At the same time, when somebody is engaged in an argument with a woman, I don't think it's very good faith for the opposing person to imply that she feels that she's being treated unfairly because she's a woman or she's a person of color. Because I've seen that used by the opposing side. Oh, you just think this, you think that I'm being sexist, you think that I'm being racist, and or you think that you think that I'm treating you this way because you're a woman, you know. And that already, like, again, is kind of like poisoning the well. So
I agree. What are your thoughts, Mooncake? Come on.
Well, sorry, because I agreed most with what Stardust was saying. But in general, when you said, is there responsibility in the space? I think the only responsibility, and I think you may have already said it, is treating or trying to treat everybody the exact same, right? If you're going to call one person shitty, call the other person shitty, no matter the gender. I think there also should be a lack in expectation of some women to look a certain way. I think some of these streamers want every woman to look the exact same. And I think that does play a role into it.
You mean have glasses, long hair? Like, I'm looking, like, I just like, wow, they're like, I can't. I'm just looking at the three I got on my screen. Okay, not planned, gang, I promise. We all have glasses, actually, so it's not a gender thing. Do you think, right? Well, let me ask this: who is the best role model in this space for women that you can think of? Like, who do you look up to? Who do you want to emulate? Who do you want to be like in this space?
I mean, I think there are a
Can
lot
we
of
not
women
think of one?
I think there are a lot of women to appreciate in the space, but I don't know that I like necessarily look up to people. I think I'm like too old to be looking up to people. But
What was there when you were getting into content creation, when you were trying to get into this? Did you ever
when I was getting into it, there were no women. There were no women when I was getting into this space specifically, into the Twitch poll space.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
I mean, so you were your own role model. Fair enough.
I don't know about that.
What about the rest of mid? And I'll Mooncake if you want, if you're ready now.
No problem. Mid, go ahead.
Mid.
Oh, it's just unironically look up to 𝕵𝖎𝖴. I think she's the funniest businesswoman.
Okay. So what about 𝕵𝖎𝖴 makes you want to emulate her? What do you think she does right?
I think in a way she just kind of just knows how the whole game works, if that makes sense. Like, by now she's kind of like slowing down, right? But she knew always how to like keep up that momentum with her fan base. Mainly, I guess, to like with the changing content with the years, because of course, like let's say back then, it was very like on Twitch was very gaming focused, right? Like that's already like a plus. And let's say I want to say like she just doesn't like take a lot of things that seriously. Like there are some creepy things that happen to her that comes out, but at the same time, it's kind of like I feel like she's just kind of like the most realistic like person. Like I don't know that like had to like navigate the space. Oh, they kidnap come in.
Well, we have no idea if this is going to work yet. Catnip.
Oh, okay.
We're trying. We're hoping. We're crossing our fingers.
cross.
Okay. Yeah, doesn't look like it. Mooncake. Who do you look up to in this? Who do you think
you
does
know
it
what?
right?
It's actually funny. Like, so I wouldn't say like I have anyone I look up to per se, but I had seen Stardust. It was just a clip or something, and I think you were screaming at somebody, and I thought it was hilarious. And so then I had clicked onto Prime's channel, and I saw a debate, and I forget her name. I think her name was like 𝕾𝖎𝖎, and I just thought like she was spirited. She didn't care what she said. She wanted to get her opinion out. People may have disliked her, but I liked how, I guess, aggressive sometimes she could be. So once I saw that, I was like, oh, there's some like really cool women in the space who have strong opinions, and yeah, it's kind of badass. So
I remember 𝕾𝖎𝖎, yeah. She definitely is somebody who had some very spicy opinions, but she was not afraid to say them. And to be fair, you know, there are a lot of men with spicy opinions too. I think I think people definitely got more triggered at 𝕾𝖎𝖎, though she, again, her thoughts were very, very spicy. So yeah.
It's sometimes hard for me to measure, right? Like when you talk about the unhinged on the men and the women both. The unhinged men get a lot of shit too, so it's hard for me. I don't measure it. It's hard for me to measure, but I understand that women get special comments that men often don't, right? Like
Yeah, I think part of the issue is that women, at least for me, when I first entered like the debate space, I had to be super obnoxious to get people to listen to me, or to get people to even like pause and make space for me in a conversation. I don't have to do that anymore, but I think probably that adds a bit to it, especially for somebody who's new in the space. Having to be obnoxious in a conversation kind of adds probably more,
okay.
you know.
So who? I'm gonna flip the question on its head now. Who has hurt women most in this space? Who is the worst example? Who is failing women the hardest that is a content creator in this space? You can't like 𝕬𝖎𝖏's off the table here. We all okay. Other than 𝕬𝖏, right? Who has failed the hardest for women in this space?
I think 𝕾𝖍𝖎𝖙 is a great example of
Okay.
somebody who
Fair.
is the epitome of like a triggered woman, right? Is the epitome of a triggered woman and has no qualms about like going after just anybody with the most vitriolic shit. And she will say some really yikesy race and anti-Semitic stuff, and not even realize what she's saying. I'm not even sure she's like fully there, to be honest with you. But she is somebody I think of who is like the epitome of like everything that you don't want to be in a content creator. Another person that I would think of, unfortunately, now I don't know a whole lot of her content, but Catnip is somebody that I think of because when I saw her conversation with Destiny,
I wish she was
I
here for
started,
this.
I know, but I started
Oh,
I went through her
Yeah,
conversation
clip
with
this
Destiny.
stuff and send it to her. I'm curious, but anyway, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, so I really did not like her conversation with Destiny. I thought her bringing up personal stuff in his life was way out of line. And I thought it was super, super hypocritical for her to be woke scolding him about like, oh, you can't use that language, while also bringing up his personal life and people that he's lost in his life as if she knows that better than him. I started counting the amount of times that she went after him personally, and yeah, and he has not in that conversation. I don't think he went after her personally at all, with the exception of when he was responding to her going personally after him.
I will.
So.
On that note, before I get to other people's answers, I'm curious what Mid and Mooncake's answers are here. But just to put a pin in that, this is my feeling as a man in this space, and you can tell me if I'm wrong or mistaken, or if you get a different impression. If I can go harder on another male creator, be more personal with another male creator, but I hesitate with women. I don't know if that's internalized misogyny or whatever, but I hesitate because I know that I will get much more pushback from people if I go hard on a woman as a creator. I'm not talking about an audience member, not talking about one of those rando chatters, but if, for example, let's bring up 𝕾𝖍𝖎𝖙. Okay. 𝕾𝖍𝖎𝖙 made a post. Okay. Basically I was a part of this post. Took 6 male streamers, sexualized the shit out of them, and said and rated their looks, right? Did a poll to rate their looks and stuff like that. And it was funny. It was great. If I had done that with 6 female creators, I would not be standing before you today. That would not be a thing, right? So I think that also this comes up with women creators too. If I were to rate the worst, most misogynistic male creators, I could get away with that. I could not do that if I did it with women creators to the same way. Do you disagree? Why or why not?
I think that's inherently true, only because I think if you did it to women creators who are POC, I actually do think you'd get away with it more. I think, unfortunately, when it comes to white cis women, you cannot do that, like, at all. They will come after you. But if you do it to a woman of color, I do think you have a better chance of getting away with it. And I think we've
No
seen
shot. No, I do not believe you.
before.
No shot. I think it would be worse.
Okay, the most obnoxious female, the 2 most obnoxious females that I've seen in the space recently have both been white women. How are they surviving? I'm curious. How?
Do you think they are? What are the examples?
Are,
𝕬𝖎?
absolutely.
What do you think? Name the examples and I'll tell you why.
Yeah, 𝕬𝖎 and �catnip. Yeah.
Okay. 𝕬𝖎 ain't surviving in this space. She is like no one really like she's lost all credibility. She's lost all access pretty much. She's not thriving in this space. That's like I remember when she would draw 1,000 viewers to the stream. Okay. She's not doing that today.
You don't think she would still do that? You don't think she would still do that if she went live?
No, I don't.
I think
they the only reason that she might get viewers are for people to watch her burn, right? I think that would happen. And who was the other �catnip? I don't know enough about her to say. She's new. I don't even know how many followers she has or how many viewers.
I don't know either, to be honest.
So I don't know again. But yeah, I think that like. Yeah, those aren't surviving.
You're right. 𝕬𝖎 is somebody who also survived, being insufferable.
And she's a person of color as well.
Yeah.
She's mixed, and people do treat people who are mixed differently. Let's be honest, right? Depending on what you look like, you are treated differently.
Yes, but like I said, just to bring it back again, whether they people of color or not, if I as a man went hard at 6 female content creators and made a list of the biggest bitches, right? The most Karen of Karens, right? And I made a tier list, I would get shit on in a way that I wouldn't if I made the whiniest men, right? And just did or the weakest, ugliest, homeliest, the most incel men, right? And just made a tier list of that. No one would care about that one. But oh boy, if I did it with the women, I would be crucified.
Yeah, like honestly, as well with like white women, I generally think that they are the butt of a lot of the jokes in these spaces. Like whenever it becomes to like, if they're like, oh, even if it's just like a regular women's joke, they have to like make sure it's a Karen, some type of Karen joke, and we all know that's mostly a white woman.
Can we pour one out for the white women? I know there aren't any here.
Early things as well. Somebody brought up early things. That's a good example of somebody who's super, super toxic who is thriving, right? Just pearly things.
Like, come on.
Yeah, but she's thriving because she hates on women. Like
that's true too. Yeah.
I mean, hers is a special case, the exception that proves the rule.
Yeah.
But I wanted to go back to the question. So Stardust gave her answer. Surprise showing from �catnip, and then Ninetales. Fair. What about you, Mooncake? Who do you think are the worst women in this space? And Testicle Johnson for $2. AO, where the white woman at? I'm not on my stream right now. Sorry. Okay. Mooncake, go ahead.
So, like, it's difficult because once again, I'm not too familiar with a lot of people in this space. I honestly just watch League of Legends creators. Like that's literally all I watch.
Whatever. Like, I'm not talking about just Twitch bull here. I'm talking about streaming and content creation as a whole.
Oh, like women that I think maybe are doing it
Women who
wrong.
are hurting other women. Who is hurting women the most in this space or in
Um,
content creation?
I think it's the. I don't know if I have someone specific. Maybe I'd agree with Stardust a little bit about catnip because I saw part of it and it was like kind of insane. Um, but also, I think any woman who maybe starts streaming on Twitch and then they create an OnlyFans right after. But that's not every woman, right? Like I don't want to put that on everybody. I'm just saying sometimes the over sexualization is
Can
really
you think of
concerning.
an example of someone who over sexualizes himself in a way that's derogatory or that's degrading towards women? Got to
Any
name
of
a
those
name.
streamers
I'm trying
who
to.
put who was the streamer who put the microphone up to her butt and farted into it while she was doing like
Oh
exercises or
Jesus!
whatever? Yeah.
That's not sexy, first of all.
She was doing sexualized content though, and then she
Okay.
just happened to fart into her microphone.
That's insane. I don't,
Give us
yeah.
a name. Give us a name, okay?
I'm genuinely trying to think of one. I don't know. Like you already said, like I don't know, just someone who does like OnlyFans creation now. Like
I
I just
don't
don't
know.
know. Sorry, I don't know like names. I just see people, right? I'm like, oh, this is crazy. Oh, how about this? I don't even know if I can say her, but Krishan Rock. She's doing like streaming now with Kai.
I don't know her. But
Oh,
fair. Okay. Tell us why. Like we don't have to know her. Tell us why.
uh,
What about her content is is
I mean,
is hurting women?
she beats up Blueface on camera. She is obviously on drugs. Something deeper is going on, like having sex on video, putting it out there, getting his face tattooed, just stuff like that. Is like insane.
Okay. What do you think, Mid? Who are the women that you think are hurting other women the most?
Hmm. I mean, I do want to also point literally at like the titty streamers. Like, I'm sorry. I think they kind of, unfortunately,
Who is the
continue the
worst of the
image.
titty? Tell me who the worst titty streamer is so I can avoid
Okay, the
her.
worst titty
Yeah, make
streamer.
sure you
Oh my
drop the
god,
link in chat so I know
you're right.
what not to click
No.
on, please. Yeah.
What's it? What is her name? Oh my god. She's the one with red hair.
Red hair.
Amaranth?
Yes, unfortunately, but she's also the most successful one, you know?
I don't know. But fair enough. Okay, so titty streamers are crushing it for other women. They are destroying other women. Why, in your opinion?
I think in a way because they see one successful one do it, they do try to kind of like mimic all the others. And in a way, it just creates like a filter, you know, and then continues that stereotype of what Twitch is or something, right? Or something.
I don't know. I'm gonna be real with you, Mid. I don't understand
Maybe
sometimes
that's
what
just
you're
my
saying.
algorithm. Who
Maybe
knows?
it's your
Like,
algorithm, but I'm gonna
man,
be real. I do not understand what you're saying half the time. I don't know what's going on. I hope you're okay, right? But I just don't understand. So,
okay.
but I
Let me
still.
try to stay on topic again.
Well, no, it's not about going on topic or off topic. I just want to know. Yeah, I'm just trying to understand what you're saying. That's all. It's probably my bad. It's probably a failure on my end. Okay, but I'm just
Nah,
struggling here.
I am also struggling, but
We'll get it
you
done.
know,
You're doing good.
We'll
I
get
am
it done.
doing very well.
You're
But
still.
No.
what do you call it? Uh, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't even say there is a worse female streamer, right? There's just not a lot of them. Like,
I mean, I would say Pearl generates a lot. I mean, she's not a streamer per se, but she generates a lot of hatred
oh,
towards
so
other
like,
women.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's probably
personality.
number one. Actually, she's probably number one for me.
You know what?
Okay.
Actually, I do think Pearl does a lot of damage to the perception of women as well. Because now it's like we just look like a joke, right? We have this girl running around saying women shouldn't be allowed to vote, which honestly, at this point, it's just nonsense. I wish people would just ignore her. I think she's toxic for the community. I think she has nothing good to offer. And I think she's just trying to make as much money as she can before it just tires itself out.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna be honest, I do think she lives in her own ecosystem in a way. Like, I think she's just generating off of the, that type of red pill space and then just, getting out. Like, she doesn't seem to be involved with a lot of women.
What I want to know,
She goes viral enough for it,
My God, I wish Catnip had been here, because that was going to be the tension in the room. Do I have any female streamers or female content creators that are watching this in my audience right now who are thinking this is bullshit, right? All of Stardust is full of shit. Mooncake is talking out her ass. Mid, we can't understand what she's saying.
Here.
Yeah. Do you want to come on and tell us why we're wrong? Right? Because they're speaking a lot of truth to my male audience here.
What I will say also is that I've noticed like a kind of a concerning trend in like the debate sphere, where like I've seen like multiple I don't know, I think it's just multiple, regardless of gender, people who will start drinking or start smoking right before a debate. That is like the opposite of what you should be doing if you're trying to make content. That like I don't understand people who do that. I don't.
So
I disagree. A lot of people do that.
Is your issue just with them being inebriated, or is it just like something bigger than that?
It's inconsiderate to the other people on the stream. And it's inconsiderate to like, let's say you are debating somebody, it's inconsiderate to the person you're debating.
What if the person, right? Because like sometimes I like to dabble in the marijuana. It's fully legal here.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like it's to like de-stress, right?
If it's like not a debate, if it's not like a serious debate, I don't have a problem with it. If it's not like something that's like collaborative that requires full attention, then I don't have a problem with it. But if it's collaborative that does require full attention, I do have a problem with it.
You don't think even maybe being a little high, you can still have full attention, or you think it's just completely out the window? Like,
what if I just want to like vibe and to pass around ideas?
Some people I know, for example, they've been smoking weed like just since they were like 10 years old, right? And which is unfortunate, but they use it every day, right? So they probably smoke before a conversation or just before whatever they do. So I don't think it'd be inherently like inappropriate or them trying to be disrespectful.
A conversation is a bit different than a debate, right? And again, it really depends on what you're doing with the other person. If it's a debate, I do feel like that requires full attention. And I feel like I've engaged with people who have been drunk or who have been high
a debate?
while they're debating, and it's just terrible. It just makes for terrible content and makes terrible arguments. People
Are they
come up
like
with terrible arguments.
Are those people? I'm sorry. I'm asking you like 21 questions. I'm just curious. Are those people like sloppy drunk? Like you can tell they're just not all there.
Sloppy drunk, yeah, or sloppy high. One thing to be buzzed, but full on drunk or full on high, kind of inconsiderate in my opinion. So.
I don't disagree. I think.
Wait, hold on, Mid. Do you disagree with that?
Even then, like, how do you even know how people de-stress, and how do you even know how high or even how drunk somebody is?
People can de-stress, but for people who do this as a job, it is kind of inconsiderate for people to show up to things like debates specifically,
we can I'm going to give you all I'm going to give you all.
Was this? I don't know about this, but I'm talking about specifically when I go to debates, right? When I engage in a debate or engage in something that requires heavy collaboration, and somebody shows up drunk, that irritates me, So.
Mid, we can tell when someone is super high or drunk, right? Everyone can tell. Everyone knows, right? It's not a secret. And I would say that it's fine if you're just, again, on a hangout stream. Like, hey, come play some League of Legends with me. We're going to hang out on a stream and talk some shit. Cool.
Oh.
Right? But if you show up high as balls to a discussion about Israel-Palestine.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's super irritating to me. Or if I'm entering a debate about I don't know, something serious, right? Like, this is how people make their money. This is their career. Like, I don't show up to my job drunk, right? So,
I guess I don't take women seriously enough. I'm sorry.
What? Sorry.
What? I don't. What?
I thought this was a fun discussion about, whatever.
What?
Just about why women fail women. Are we failing each other
I
right now?
wasn't even talking about this specifically, but like, yeah, specifically, like when especially female streamers show up to debates, like, it just, I don't know, just seems,
I agree. Like,
yeah.
if they're trying to show up to a debate and, they want to be taken seriously, that's fine.
Oh, yikes. Sometimes some people like to dabble. I don't know. It's like difficult because I do see both sides, but I also see the side of like sometimes even if it's like a semi-serious debate, it's like as long as they are coherent, so you can actually go back and forth with them, their arguments make sense. Inherently, I don't think it's a big issue.
If they're coherent, then I probably can't even tell, right? Like,
Yeah,
I
that's fair.
probably wouldn't even be able to. If I can tell, then there's an issue, right? So,
Yeah. Then it's just like, okay, now I have to endure this
Well,
maybe
and
for
it
2 hours.
yeah.
comes into how women fail other women, right? So I think that again, women already have a problem in this space being taken seriously. That's just true. There is a problem where men don't take women as seriously as they do other men. I don't know if it's simply the professorial beard that I have that makes people listen when I say something. Like, I have been on a show with Stardust, and I'll use you as an example here, Stardust, where Stardust has made an argument and everyone ignored her argument. I made the same argument not 2 minutes later, and then everyone engages with me, right?
That happened to me.
That it's going to happen again, right?
Yeah.
And so when you turn up to a debate space or a contentious conversation or to any kind of serious talk and you're tripping balls,
Sorry.
you are just reinforcing the stereotype that women should not be taken seriously. And I would argue that if you were showing up to these spaces high as fuck, you are failing women because it does play into this stereotype.
No, I don't think I'm
so.
failing women.
I don't think so. Because think about it. Honestly, being high, okay, maybe it's not the best, right? But it's not worse than like shaking your boobs on stream. Like you've seen like the hot tub streamers, and I'm once again nothing against them. Make your money how you have to make your money. But I really do think that's a lot worse than somebody showing up
Yes,
high.
I think if someone shows up to a debate stream and they just start shaking their boobs to make their point, I'm not going to take them seriously either. I think that also is bad, but it's not an
Yeah,
either
that
or
doesn't
thing.
happen. What
right?
we have
Well,
happened,
to be fair, if that
we're
had
talking about it.
happened on a panel, I don't know how I would react, but it, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I guess that's it, right? Like, there are just some people that just rather have a debate and be taken seriously than just kind of, have fun with it. And that
I mean,
sucks.
there's nothing wrong with having fun with something, right? But like, we're talking about how women are trying to be taken seriously within specific spaces, right? And even being taken seriously while you're having fun is also a thing, right?
Yeah.
Being taken seriously, having people not think that they can get away with saying whatever to you, right? It goes in together, right? So you do want to be taken seriously, even if you are having a stream where you're having fun with people. And yeah, I don't know. That's just kind of like my read on it. So yeah.
okay, fair enough. I don't want to. This, yeah, I didn't mean to.
Are we pro legalization? I don't know how it works in the States. I don't know if it's legalized
I'm pro
everywhere.
legalization of weed. I'm
Pro
pro legalization of
legalization.
weed. But like, I'm a weed user myself. But like, I again, I don't show up,
Yeah,
to my stream. Yeah,
I wouldn't get high before
yeah,
I drove, right? Or I wouldn't get
yeah,
high
yeah.
before I was going to do a job interview. I
Well,
wouldn't get high
Yo,
before I was going to go and babysit someone's kid, right? Like, there are certain things like you are expected to be respectful of people's time and people's audiences and people's attention, right? And if you are showing up, it shows a disregard and a disrespect for people's spaces and times if you're just
Here's
gonna
a question.
show up.
Here's a question I have, Wick. The first
Please.
time you let me on a panel, okay? Could you tell that I was inebriated?
Nope.
You couldn't tell I was high out of my
Nope.
mind. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I was high out of my mind. It was like my first stream. I'm like, let's just, relax a little bit. But like, it was enjoyable for the stream. I was able to interact. I was coherent because you're telling me you couldn't tell. So I think it is
If I can't
possible.
tell, it's not an issue.
Yeah, it
We're not
depends on
talking
like,
if you can do it, cool. I am saying most people can't.
Well, again,
That's
there's
the
still
thing.
moderation, right? There's moderation. So if it's to the if you're just like buzzed or whatever, or if it's like it's not if it's not interfering with your ability to engage meaningfully with other people, then it's fine, you know. But like when it's noticeable, when I can notice that somebody is like out of their mind, like that, that's where it makes a difference.
when it's
So.
not, yeah. Okay, that's fair.
hmm
That's
I
very
just-
nitpicky.
Is it? Why?
A little bit. I think it's kind of like, I guess that goes back into the content creation thing, like basically alienating your audiences and whatnot. Because it's like, oh, I can tell you're just like, like that. So
I
you're
mean,
not
I
actually
have
listening.
I have audience members who get high or who drink while they're watching me, but
And you think they
I
can
know that
understand you and take you seriously like that?
yeah, absolutely, because I'm still working on providing a clear communication to them, right? If I am unable to do that, they're not going to enjoy the stream. It's about like what am I providing to my audience that is meaningful for them. Why would they even want to have me on, So, yeah, somebody in my chat just said I'm drunk as balls already. So,
See?
Yeah, but the
That's
audience
relatable.
does not have the same responsibility, right? That the content creator does. Like my audience can, as long as they obey like the rules of my chat, they can do whatever. They don't
Yeah.
half of them don't even listen to me. All they do is turn the sound off and look in and make comments on my beard. And they'll send me weird DMs about it. Okay. That's like a portion of my audience, a not insignificant portion. That's fine. That's how they want to engage with my content. That's their choice. But as a content creator, as someone who is collaborating with other content creators, right? I do have a responsibility to be on time, right? To show up not cognitively impaired through drugs, alcohol, or sleep deprivation, etc. I have a responsibility to obey the rules of their chat and the rules of their stream. These are all things that are responsibilities that I think content creators have. And when you fail in those responsibilities and when you don't live up to those responsibilities, it is disrespectful and it does hurt the credibility of whatever group you are seen to represent. As a man, unfortunately or fortunately, I have the privilege is I don't represent a group. I'm just vanilla. I'm Wick. There's no one identifies me with really anything else, pretty much. But women creators, right? Especially people of color women creators, and we can say it's unfair, and it very much is, they are seen as representatives of a group in a way that I am not. Do we disagree?
Only if
I
they
don't
want to be.
disagree. Yeah, so I don't think it should. I don't think you should be required to be a representative, but I do think it's like part of. Unfortunately, people see you whether you want to be or not. But yeah, I would say it just comes down to like to a consideration thing for like the people around you and the people who are like like
So it's a networking thing.
not networking. It's just it's just decency, I guess. Like politeness. It's also it has to do with like, is this person putting in a lot of work? Am I like fucking up their content if I'm not putting in 100%, things like that. So
Let's try this. I think we're circling the drain a little bit. I'll ask one more question, then if you ladies don't mind, we'll take some calls because there's some men in my audience who have big problems with all you women. Okay, and then I want to give them a chance.
I want to hear mine.
I want to. I want to give them a chance to take you to task. Do women content creators have any responsibilities towards the men in their audience? And if so, what?
I mean, I think it would be nice. So responsibility is I don't know if I agree
Use
with
another word
responsibility.
if you'd rather. Yeah.
Yeah. It would be good, and it would be beneficial for female content creators to be able to reach out and connect with their male audiences, and not like belittle their problems, not belittle their fears, their wants, right? Try to connect with them, because that's going to be like the best way to connect, and best way to build an audience, really, and also to just make them feel heard, so I guess that's what I would say.
Interesting. What about you, Mooncake? What do you think?
I do think there's some sort of responsibility, like I said, and I think I've repeated this quite a bit, but just the over sexualization. I think we have to be careful because it does have an impact on young men. No, it is not just it's not just women who have to worry about that. It's also men. But I
How do
do.
can you elaborate on that? What do men have to worry about? What do I have to worry about if a woman over sexualizes herself on stream? What does
Well,
that matter to me as a man?
I think what happens is when men see that from one, they're going to expect it from another, right? So they might see another female creator that they're like, oh, this girl's cool, but I want to see a little bit more of her. I want her to do similar things to the other person I watch. So that's why I say it's kind of like on both parties in a way. And that's why maybe just the over sexualization and the nature of just like how you present yourself, the things you say, you should just be a little careful with.
Mid, what do you think?
I think people just simply have to just know how to connect with their audiences, and instead of more complaining at them, complaining about their own problems, sort of thing, you know?
Fair enough. Okay, fair enough. Let's bring on some guests. People are begging, pleading, screaming for me to let some people on. Gang, before I do though, you gotta support me financially. That's the responsibility the audience has to the WhickTV. Okay, you have to give the WhickTV money, bits, super chats, subs, donos, etc. Send me super chats, send me bits, send me money. Okay, that's it. Let's bring in. I know you guys want this. I know you guys want this bad. Hello. You're live.
Mantis. Hi, Mantis.
Oh my god. Are they not here? I bring them up. Everyone's screaming.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi.
Sorry, I was on mute. I've only got a short time, so I'm probably going to stir something up, and then I have to go away. So I'm sorry in advance for that. But I'm listening, and I think that just by virtue of having this panel and this topic and discussing it in the way you're discussing it, I think you've accidentally stumbled into one of the main issues for women in this space, and that's just sort of any woman who gets up in this space and does pretty much anything is therefore representative of all women. And I think that in itself is fucked. Absolutely ridiculous, because I think as a content creator of any kind, any gender, you get up and you want to make whatever content you want to make. You want to appear however the fuck you want to appear. And it doesn't matter whether you put makeup on or wear glasses or do your hair, or if you do none of those things. It doesn't matter if you get stoned or drunk, depending on TOS. You should just be, by virtue of being an individual content creator, get up there and be able to do that. And then I think the problem is, as women, this is the problem. We are therefore held up as representatives of an entire group, and we have some kind of collective group guilt that we have to adopt as some kind of responsibility or something that we owe. And I don't see that happening as often for men. I just don't. And I also just think that what's been talked about in this panel is almost every part of it has just been an example of why this is a problem.
May I ask what part specifically, if you have a specific part?
Well, in a way, I was listening and you guys are saying stuff about makeup and how they appear. Do they have some kind of responsibility to appear less sexual because it's bad for women to be sexualized? I think if a woman is going to get up there and dress up sexual and then complain about being sexualized, there's an issue with that individual content creator. I don't think it needs to be extrapolated to an entire gender group. And I also don't think that women wearing makeup and appearing hot or pretty is like necessarily inherently a bad thing for women. Who gives a hell? Who gives a shit? Like, of course, look hot.
Yeah.
It fucking
Yeah.
sells. Like, the problem here is probably the demand, not the supply.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah, I would agree with
I
that.
think that was actually
Yeah.
a really good point because it is the demand by men, and this is what men want to see. They want to see beautiful women. They like the makeup, no matter what anyone says. And sometimes women just want to feel nice, want to put on makeup. I think that's okay.
I hear
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
I hear you, Mantis, when you say that this shouldn't be happening. We shouldn't be holding people up to be a representative group. I agree. But we have to deal with reality how it is rather than how we would wish it would be. And whether we like it or not, a lot of people do hold up women as representatives of women in this space in a way that they do
But
not
then
with men. Is that not true?
I think that's absolutely true. And therefore, I
Okay.
think maybe a better panel to have had would have been, why do we hold women to such high standards of collective group guilt, as opposed to which women are making women look bad?
Luck.
You're literally
Good point.
contributing to it.
I know it's
You're
fun.
actually contributing to
point.
it.
But that's the thing, right? We have to give examples of why it's wrong and why it's bad. And
But
sometimes
that's not what you're
people...
doing, Wick. That's not what you're doing.
What
You're
am I doing?
saying
Tell me, please.
you're saying it is bad that women are like, who get up there and content create are being held to represent all women.
Yep.
However, they are, and so let's discuss how they are and what they
Yep.
should be doing better so that they aren't going to represent women badly.
Absolutely. Right? Like, we could say, well, man, someone shouldn't have set my house on fire. That's really wrong of them to do. How dare they? But you know what would be helpful in this situation, now that we're in it? To know how to either A, fight the fire, or get the fuck out. Because if we just sit there and say, this is unfair, and I'm not going to deal with it, we will burn to death. And that is not going to help anyone. So we are in a situation, we are in a situation right now where we do have this toxic, and I would agree it's a bad thing. So we have to know how to swim in these waters, even though we know they're poisonous, and also work on towards getting the water less toxic in general. But while we're here, while the house is on fire, we need to know how to protect ourselves and protect other people.
Okay, well, here's a little piece of advice then I'm going to give to all the women content creators. Don't listen to fucking anyone who holds you up as like representative of the group. Do your thing, and if people come into your community and go, oh, your arguments are so shit, classic women, like, this is a woman thing to say, this is a woman way to look, you're contributing to the talk. How about instead of saying that, you say, no, you're toxic, get the fuck out of here. Like, you know, I see this as well, like on Destiny stream. I know it's a particularly interesting community, but he's even stamped down on the fact that when women come on and they talk, all the comments and everyone, they hear whatever they're saying and they don't say, oh, 𝕬𝖎 is crap, 𝕬𝖎 is blah blah blah. They say, oh, 𝕬𝖎 represents all women and this is just classic woman behavior, and that's what they do. I think calling that out first and foremost is actually going to be more helpful than calling out women who are somehow behaving in ways that reinforce this toxicity. The fact that the toxicity is there to begin with is more like important to point out, and then you can talk about how potentially these women might be doing things that are a little bit annoying. But like, I don't think it's very helpful to stand up there and go, this woman's tits are out and it's gross, and that's what's making this space so bad for women. Who cares if their tits are out? Who gives a shit?
Inherently what's happening. I think
look,
you can criticize some parts of what we see. If we see over sexualization, I think it's okay for women to criticize some aspects of it. It doesn't inherently mean you cannot do those things, but yeah, it's okay to be criticized.
I agree that it's fine to criticize some aspects, but the problem I'm having is that it's therefore being extrapolated onto an entire group. And now women who come into this space who want to become content creators are thinking, oh, I have this heavy burden of representing all women, and it stifles their ability to just do whatever they would like to do.
Mm-hmm. I tend to agree with that. That's why I don't agree with the idea of like responsibility. I don't think any woman has responsibility to other women in the space. I just think it would be nice for certain women to do certain things because it does make life easier for the rest of the people online. But
I think if women were out there yelling at a woman content creator being in their chat or being on their stream going, ooh, this woman is so gross, she doesn't wear makeup. That if they're being toxic towards each other like that, that's perfectly reasonable to call out. And I think that's like would be a horrible thing to do, not just by virtue of them being women, but just it's horrible to do to anybody. But it does create a toxic space for women. But yeah, this whole like streamers and content creators and everyone has this like, oh, you owe this group this because you're this part of this group somehow, is kind of the actual issue. I don't actually think many people owe many people anything. A streamer owes their audience and has a responsibility for some of their audience
you have a
and
responsibility?
moderation.
Do you think you have a responsibility to your community in real life, like so your neighborhood? Do you think you have a responsibility to your neighbors?
To some degree.
Sure.
And
What
it's
degree?
not a huge degree. I actually don't think you have an obligation to do almost anything except follow the law. This is the problem. I just don't think there is an obligation, and I think online in these spheres, it's like portrayed as an obligation. You don't even have an obligation to be nice, actually.
I agree that you don't have to, but I disagree whether you should. I think people
but this is
should
what it
not
always
be
comes
nasty,
down to,
for
is
example,
this
right?
should like question. And I just think it's a little lots of people should do a lot of things, but
Yes.
like
Yes, they
There's
should.
also no
That's true.
obligation. There's
Yeah,
also no
but how-
obligation from women in real life to represent all women in IRL spaces, right? So.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And if anyone tried to say that to me in real life, that, oh, I don't like the way you're dressing or the way you're speaking or what you're saying in this little setting because you're making women look bad, I'd probably fucking slap a bitch.
Yeah, but if someone said, hey, your actions are hurting those around you, right? We'll take the gender out of it. And we'll just, again, your community members.
Yeah, but
if
that's
you go
my point. Take
to
the
a
gender
house,
out of it. Take the gender out of it.
that's fine. But again, we have to recognize that we do have, I know you hate that word, but we do have these responsibilities. But I want to give Mooncake a chance to go. I want to argue with you, but again, I want to let the women argue with you first.
I do have to.
I know you have to go.
Hate that
I want to have you on though, because I substantially disagree. Contact me. We'll set that up. I'll see you later.
Deal.
Thank you for coming on.
Deal.
I really appreciate
Thanks,
that.
guys, and sorry and thanks.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you.
Do you want to say anything? Comments on that, Mooncake, before bringing the next guest?
Oh, it sucks that she left because I had a lot more questions.
I know.
I do agree with her. Like, in no way are we the spokesperson of women. Like, just to make that completely clear, right? My opinions are my opinions, and like you can like them or not, right? I just don't like the idea that no one ever bears any type of responsibility. Because if we just look at society, right, there are certain things that we maybe expect. Maybe I shouldn't use the word expect. There are certain ways you can portray yourself that does affect the way people view you. I hate to be this person, but unfortunately in my community, right, I have a problem sometimes with some of the rappers we see that die all the time, right, who promote certain lifestyles, certain music. I just don't like it. I don't think it's a great idea. And do they bear some sort of responsibility? I think so, right? So I just don't like this idea that we can't criticize women or men for certain things that they do, right? That do impact the way we're viewed.
One of the first questions ever asked in all of creation, am I my brother's keeper? That's what it comes down to, right? Are you, right, responsible for those around you? Are you your brother's keeper? And again, I would agree, no one should have to. I think have to is just not good. But that's meaningless because I'm not here to tell people what they have to do. What I'm here is to hopefully show and teach people what they should do. And that applies across all sorts of, if we want to talk about intersectionality, of how our identities, how our interactions, how our communities intersect. When I am a part of a community, whether that be a gaming community or a streaming community or any kind of community, I have a responsibility to those within the community who interact with that community. I just do. And to act, and I think one of the most toxic, harmful things, one of the biggest lies ever told, is that you aren't responsible. I think that's horseshit. I think it's horseshit, but we'll talk with Mantis at another day about that. Any thoughts from Mid or Stardust on this?
I do agree with Mantis because, I mean, being a creator is about literally creating your own image to like show in front of people. And, that's all just people see in general. And I don't think it really like matters. And I agree. Sometimes you got to know your vibe in certain places. And sometimes it's not always going to click. So I just believe that we don't really have a collective responsibility as creators,
What?
with both men and women, honestly, in how we represent or spread our ideas.
Sure. Go ahead, Stardust.
Oh, I
Oh, if you
I've
don't got
already
nothing,
said
you
my
don't got
piece, yeah.
nothing. We could bring on the next guest. Speaking of people who are responsible for many things, many terrible, horrific, catastrophic things. Azzy, what's up?
Why you saying I'm in charge of? Why you saying I'm responsible for
Because it's funny
catastrophic
and it's a
things?
good
Well,
introduction. Go ahead.
No, it wasn't. You make me look bad, man. I'm trying to.
No, I can't make
came
you
to
look
you.
bad. Look at that beard. Look at that wonderful, lovely, picturesque face. I cannot make you look bad, no matter how hard I try. Azzy, you're lovely. You're wonderful. What you got for us?
Yeah, I feel like this conversation is turning to milk toast because nobody really wants to tread on anything. I'm not even going to say spicy. It's
So
just that
tread
anything
spicy.
I mean, like, yeah, and I
Spice
think
it
Mantis
up,
is a part of
brother.
the problem. I think Mantis is a part of the problem, right? To say that you don't represent anything, if you chose to be a content creator of any form, if you chose to go live stream to even to one viewer, you still represent something. So to say that, oh, now I'm no longer the arbiter of any type of community, I think it's just lazy, and I feel that's what the problem is, especially for women. There's a lot of women who responsibly get up, go live, press a button every day, and treat this like a job, treat it like a profession. And I feel like there's a lot of content creators, especially in Twitch poll, who just are very messy and very and they don't treat it like a profession. They don't treat it seriously. That's why nobody can really name anybody outside of other than Mooncake. She just got here, so I'm not gonna come after her. But
Are
yeah,
you?
So come after the rest of them. Come after
Wait, what are
Stardust.
you?
I used to tell Star, stop making them stupid jokes. But I think but I'm not the joke police. But that's just me personally. But I feel like sometimes, yeah, Star has been a little irresponsible for a platform.
Can you name a
and it's
couple
not,
times
and I'm
specifically?
not talking about, yeah, I'm not talking about the guests she brought on, but I remember when 𝕾𝖍𝖎𝖙𝖘𝖍𝖔𝖜 was doing her thing, and Stardust told 𝕾𝖍𝖎𝖙𝖘𝖍𝖔𝖜 to go on a warpath. And I was like, I feel like that's very irresponsible. I feel like you should do this behind closed doors professionally. But instead, she said, go on the warpath. And she went off and had that conversation. And I feel like that conversation went very poorly for both of them.
Wait,
But
what
FD is the one
warpath?
who's growing.
Oh, you mean with FD?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I think sure. Fair enough if that's what you think. I think that part of it is I don't think she should reward somebody who hurt her monetarily by not fighting back. I think that if somebody comes for you, somebody like tries to hurt your monetary income, I think you should fight back.
Nobody was trying to intentionally hurt the monetary income. He was very still like new to the success that he had. He just made a video because that's the nature of what we do. He reacted
I
to a
don't think
video
he
she
was.
made.
I don't think he was new
Yes.
to it.
No,
FD?
I said new to the amount of fame he got. The growth that he's had is very new.
Right, but you don't think the way that he was engaging with her, the way that he responded to her was irresponsible? Because like
No, because I watch you
being
guys do the same.
demonetized was her, or not demonetized, but her having like everything turned to yellow on her YouTube channel was a result of his actions.
Just to rear this back in to the main topic, right? Because I don't want to turn this into FD. I'm coming after Star. We can have this conversation like another. You know what? We can be professional and have it behind closed doors.
She just put out a video on him, and it was a really good video on him. So
I didn't see it,
Yeah.
so it must have not done that well. But anywho, I know I'm just being spicy. Yeah.
Okay, back to the topic at hand. What else you got?
Back
for
to the
us?
topic. I feel that even when you dress provocatively, like you can dress attractively, right? Put on the glasses, You know what looks good on you, know your colors, put on some good colors, pretty up your background, and do your thing, go live, and just don't be stupid. But I feel like we have pandered to the demand in order to grow. And Twitch poll is very toxic. That's why most people, in fact, a lot of streamers who were very big, in fact, one of them did a interview with a celebrity live, during it doesn't matter. But I was talking to big names. They say avoid this place as much as possible because it's a suicide for your online career.
What responsibility do we have as creators then? And if that's the case, if what you say is true, what responsibility do you think I have?
I think is to be, for you as a man, and then when another as a content creator, is now you have to be responsible for up and coming. You are a representative of male content creation, right? And most people say, oh, that doesn't exist. What do men have to do with each other? There's a responsibility to not be toxic, right? Because toxic masculinity seems to be very pervasive in this space, in Twitch in general, right? You go to YouTube, it's a much broader community. The genres are broad, so you can choose any space you want to get into, right? And this is a choice at the end of the day. So it's your responsibility to choose. Be responsible, right? If you're gonna be toxic, be toxically responsible. There's a lot of men who just like XQC just do stuff that's like insane. When we judge 𝕾𝖍𝖎𝖙 for going on a 7-day stream in prison, right? He's pandering to an audience, right? It's funny content, but he's still pandering to like a prison complex, right? He's pandering to a community who wants to see stuff like that. So I feel like there's a lot of, I feel like Wick, and I'm not here to come after you, Wick, either. But I've just to bring it back to the topic. Women pander, right? I see that a lot. And then when you see successful women, I feel like a lot of people came into the space and they didn't look for any creators that they could look up to, all right? And if they did, they chose the irresponsible ones.
No, I said Stardust and Annalise, and I think those were good ones I got to look up to when I first was like coming in.
But I don't know what platforms do you make content on?
I just stream on Twitch, but I mean, like when it comes to political discourse, I feel like those are appropriate streamers. Or I mean, I don't think Annalise is around anymore. I only watched like that little bit of content with her, but
she's been making Instagram and like Clubhouse content. I'm familiar with it. I follow her on Instagram, but she's not really here. And but even she would say Twitch and YouTube harbors a lot of like what do you call them? Degenerate men. And at the time he was talking about black men. So there's a lot of degenerate behavior that goes along. And we just get along to go along. Or go along to get along. Rather.
I guess we do have one more person in chat. So Azzy, do you have anything else that you'd like to take us to task for, or think that we should be talking about that we're not talking about? You said in your super chat, thank you for the $10, by the way, that this is milk toast. So what should we be talking about? And what issue are we not talking about that would really bring what you want to see in this conversation out? What should I be asking them that I'm not?
I mean, the way we deal with each other, I feel like the drama farming is kind of like overdone, but we just do that because we know that we're going to get a lot of viewers at the time. We're not really trying to grow as content creators. We're just trying to facilitate as much as possible, and then we latch on to bigger content creators trying to leech off of their audience. So that's why we're like stuck in the same position, and it's like a cycle. So I feel like a lot of us are being lazy. I understand we have 9-to-5s or we might have real lives, but if you're going to be up here, do it right. That's why I made the decision myself. If I can't do this the way I want to, I'm just going to go to another platform and deal with the individuals that I want to deal with.
Who do you think in this space is the best example of someone doing it right, that we should all kind of emulate or look to as an example?
I think 𝕾𝖎 did it exceptionally well. She came in, she focused, she didn't really... I feel like she was a little unhinged, but I feel like that's her personality, And I met her and her husband. they're doing their good thing, and I like them both, and I wish them the best. But I feel like she came in, she tried to educate, she found her niche, and she stuck to it, and she wasn't just like being. I feel like there's no like time where she's gone on, and there's like an instance of her being like lazy, right? She's like she has a plan, she has scheduled content, and if she has to go it alone, she
I'm
she
curious.
adjusts.
Are there people you have in mind? Because I feel like you're being specific without being completely specific. So now I'm just curious.
Okay, but what do you want me to? What do you mean by that?
Like as you're saying it, it sounds like you're thinking of a person or people, without actually.
No, I feel like it's Twitch poll in general. I like a lot of content creators in Twitch poll. They're very lazy. Even at one time, I feel like I was
I tend to
like
agree
very.
actually with that. There are a lot of people
Yeah.
who are lazy. Yeah, yeah.
We
There are a lot of
leech off
people
each other. We have to. It's the react Andy, but there's a way to react to things and still be excellent in it, right?
Do
And
you
still
Yeah,
be
absolutely,
unique in
yeah.
it. I feel like
So-
we're all like clones of each other.
Do you mean like
But
everyone's making relatively like similar content, and then even with like reactionaries, they'll just like watch a video, not provide very much commentary, and then like keep it
Yeah.
going?
and it's not like I'm not. Yeah, the same exactly. And it's not that. And it's not even just a commentary. It's like the way we commentate on it. Even like I feel like 𝕾𝖎𝖙 right now, who's currently banned, right? And he had no reason being banned, but I said it to him live. I feel like you go overboard to pander to the audience, because you feel like you're gonna go unnoticed, like, and you just do things that are reckless. And I feel like that's Twitch poll right now. We're very reckless, and people don't take it seriously. That's why people become Hassan react Andys,
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'll just leave you with this, 𝕖𝐴. I don't know if I agree. I think that when it comes to laziness, absolutely. But when it comes to erudite is a good example. And I think there are more erudites, quote unquote, than you think in this space, 𝕖𝐴. I think you just
like who?
I won't name names.
Why not? They asked me to name.
I don't want to stir the pot. Right? I don't want to.
It's not drama.
I know it's not drama, but I want to make sure. Like, look.
Name the people.
Sure, I'll name a name. I'll name a name for you. I'll name a name for you.
It's not a negative. It's a positive.
Sure. Yeah, but then what's gonna happen is I'm gonna get DMs like, "Yo, why didn't you say my name?" Right? That's gonna happen, and I
just say one. I'm gonna
don't
name one.
want to deal with the issues. Kid Not Kin. I really like his content. I hate his takes, especially lately. Right? I think he's just being stupid, but his content is good. I don't think it's lazy. He puts in work, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. You didn't have to call him stupid. That might get you to DM, but
I mean,
have a good night, yo.
Okay, I'll see you later.
Go ahead, yeah.
But yeah, we thought we were talking about girls who were doing it right. Stardust and Mid and Mooncake are all the best streamers because they actually showed up and they're doing it right now. Let's bring on the next contestant on whatever the shit show is right now. Hammer.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay, my camera is not turned on. Let's see. Okay, sorry, my light's not working, so I'm a little bit dark. Basically, I just came in to represent like the titty streamers, or can I say that?
Yes,
like
you can say that.
Okay. Basically, I don't know. I feel like you guys were like really trashing hard on women who are like on Twitch and being sexual, and I really don't understand the reason why. Like, is it really like you made it seem like it's an inherently bad thing to be like for women to be sexual on Twitch?
You think like even I'm just okay. I'm curious what part. Like, what part do you think we were like trashing, going hard? Is there like specific?
Well, you said it was. I'm pretty sure you explicitly said it was wrong. That like you were saying that like they're kind of a bad example for women, and that let's see, that yeah, they're like a bad example that It's a bad thing to do, that like it puts the expectation on women that, and you were kind of like saying, well, women come to this space and then they become really sexual. They have their, they're in their hot tubs, and then these toxic people go to other people's chats, kind of blaming them for it. But like, I don't really like. I don't think that's super fair, and I don't think that's really an actual problem.
I think
Okay, what I will say is, like, if you look at like the chats, like it is kind of like it is a problem where like the saturation of like titty streamers or people who overly sexualize themselves tend to have like slightly more toxic chats, and then those chats go to other people's chats who aren't exactly titty streamers and start acting toxic there. And so while I'm not saying that I don't think that women have a specific responsibility. I think women should be able to do what they want. It just would be nice if it weren't such like a rampant problem.
What?
So yeah.
So what do you think? What do you think is like where? What do you think is the problem? Do you think that like do you think that it's wrong for them to be sexual in the first place?
No, I don't think it's wrong for them to be sexual in the first place, but I do think it does it does kind of foster a certain type of community where like you're okay with your average chatter saying like asking for feet pics, like as a meme, right? Whereas like other people are not really into that. You're okay with like your chatter saying like sexual comments about your body, whereas like other people are not okay with that, right? So
yeah, but I mean, wouldn't that I was actually also going to ask, like, when you say that the people in these girls' chats are like super toxic, like toxic in what way? Are they like actual like nasty, like you're a fucking whore or whatever?
No,
or are they
it's
like
the type that come in that like are like asking for your OnlyFans, that are
Yeah.
constantly making comments on your body, that are constantly making comments on like, why won't you show this or something like that?
Yeah.
So yeah.
But if you are a hot tub streamer, wouldn't you like expect that? Like, if that was going on within like one of these streamers'
That's
chats
fine
where
for
they are
us.
selling that,
That's fine
But-
if
but
they're
that-
selling that, but if we're talking about just chatting chats where like I'm not saying that anybody has a specific responsibility, right? But I'm saying what it would be nice is that as a just chatting streamer, if it weren't like the norm for people to come in and start asking for inappropriate things and making inappropriate comments.
Also, if I could just jump in there, because I completely agree with Stardust on this. I didn't want to make it seem like I'm saying it. That's why I kept on repeating, like it's not all bad, right? Like you can do it. It's fine. Make your money how you want. What I'm just saying is, and we have to be completely honest about the way society already sees women, is that maybe using the word responsibility isn't a good idea, but there is a certain perception that you put out there, right? If you have a large amount of women putting out things like hot tub streams or just stuff like that, right? You have these chatters who think other women on the platform are going to be doing these things. Like they're just going to keep over sexualizing. And that's not just the fault of women or anything. Of course, it's the fault of chatters and other men. But I think it is okay to criticize that maybe it has become rampant and it has become a new thing for everything to be sexualized when it comes to women.
So, I mean, so if you're not saying that it's their responsibility, then I guess what are you saying?
I guess what I'm just saying is that like
it would be nice if people
it's because we already know women are going to be over sexualized, right? So when we have a large amount of women putting out that type of content, it makes it hard for other women who just want to come in and not do that content, right? They just want to stream whatever game, do stupid stuff. It does impact it a little bit, and that's fair to consider.
I guess I kind of have a problem with coming to people. Like if someone's doing something that you yourself admit isn't wrong, and you come in and you're like, hey, I think it'd be really nice if you stop doing what you're doing, especially for a job. Like I have a problem with that. And it's like you're trying to be nice about it, but you really are like attacking them.
But
in
we're
a kind
talking
of
about fostering a
attacking them?
community, right? We're talking about a community, this is a community that we all share, right? And when you are fostering a community that is super okay with just coming in and asking super personal questions, asking super personal things about your body or about you, or making comments about your body or your looks, right? It is uncomfortable for any new person who enters the space. And so I'm not going to blame somebody for doing their job, but is there not a way that people can like kind of sequester this and keep it within their community? Like, is there not a way for people to sequester this to even their OnlyFans? Like, for the average dude who streams, you don't get it a whole lot, but like
Yeah.
for a woman who streams, it is it's kind of it feels invasive and it feels weird to have people coming in and asking for feet pics or asking for, your OnlyFans constantly or asking, things about your body.
I had
So
multiple people ask me, I'm not even joking, 3 people different times asked me when I was gonna do a hot tub stream. That's when I initially found out about hot tub streams because I'm like, "What the hell are hot tub streams?" And I actually had to, like, go on Twitch and, like, check it out and stuff, and I was like, "Oh, shoot." So, once again, I don't wanna say those women are doing anything bad. If you gotta do what you gotta do, and if the money's good, like, good for you. I just meant that, yeah, there is an over-sexualization aspect, and it leaks into different communities, and that's the only concerning thing.
But aren't you kind of saying that in a way by even calling it over sexualization? Like that it implies that there's like it's more than it should
Well,
be.
this is the reason I say
more than
over-sexualization.
it should be. When random women who are not engaging like sexualized, are not engaging in this sexualized work or not sexualizing themselves on stream, are feeling the repercussions of people who are, then yeah, there's an over sexualization problem.
But then you're
Just real quick, $5 from the 𝕾𝖍𝖎. It's like if your occupation goes on strike, and there are some that continue to work. Yeah, they need to make money, but they will get the side eye. It's like, and I'll add to this, right? If you're swimming in the pool, and there's a lot of other people in the pool, don't pee in the pool. Yes, it's your right to pee, but when you pee in the pool, other people have to swim in that, right? It really stinks up the community. And like when you go into a public setting, wear deodorant, shower, because if you don't, right, even though you don't quote unquote have to, you're stinking up the place. Other people have to deal with it. Other people have to smell it. Other people have to deal with your stank. So clean it up, right? Just that's the argument here, is that what Stardust and Mooncake are saying is that the women who hypersexualize themselves in order to appeal to this audience are in effect having a knock-on, like they are feeling the effects of that. They're feeling the pressures of that. That isn't just isolated to their chat or their community. It's spread it out into the pool. Now, we could argue about where those lines should be, et cetera, but yeah, that's the problem they're expressing. But go ahead.
Yeah, and when you have like one of the reasons why I stopped streaming initially is because when I first started streaming, one of these like chatters came in and found my personal Instagram and sent me a message on Instagram over like me posting a picture, like a normal picture of me in a t-shirt, and said that it gave him a chub. Like that was enough for me, like, and I was a new person to the space at that time. It wasn't the Twitch full space, but it was just Twitch in general. And when you have that, you were fostering a community that it makes it harder for other women to get into who are not used to the space and who are not assertive enough, so.
But I think well, I guess one of my issues is that you're basically saying that it's wrong, but then saying that you're not saying it's wrong. I mean, literally compared to peeing in the pool, like basically peeing on other people, or like what is it called, scabbing or whatever, when you work when there's a strike. I think that's unambiguously probably wrong to do unless you're actively trying to resist the strike. If you think the strike is wrong or whatever, right? So.
It doesn't matter whether I think it's wrong or right. Does it really matter when we're talking about the effects on a community as a whole?
Yeah, I think it does. I think when it comes to whether or not you support,
like, I'll be outright, I don't like sex work, but that's not what I'm arguing about right now. What I'm arguing about right now is there is a level of consideration that people should probably try to have for other people who share the same community.
Yeah, I think that I think that we're basically blaming these women for their bad community. I think we should, whether or not, I mean, I guess I would
I
ask: Is it worth demanding these women to stop what they're doing? Like, hey, and that's fair. If you want to ban it from Twitch, that's fine. But is it worth banning this kind of content in order to prevent these knock-on effects? Because if not,
I'm
then
not advocating for the banning.
Yeah,
But I
they
do
can do whatever they want.
nobody here is advocating for the banning, but I do think that, like, again, you know, if you are somebody who engages in that type of content, you know what type of audience you have, right? And there needs to be some way for, whether that's like, hey guys, don't go into other communities and think that this is normal, that this is a normal way to engage, whether it's that, or finding you know, some other way of mitigating what your effects on the community are. There has to be a way. You have to find a way to be considerate of other people.
And I also think it's okay to criticize some things that we see online, right? Not everything's going to be perfect, right? This idea that the sexual nature that we're seeing, right? I keep using the hot tub streams as an example. We can criticize it. I think that's perfectly fine without saying inherently, oh, it has to be done away with, it has to be banned. I think you could have both opinions on that.
yeah, but I think that I would say that like the best solution would be to like moderate your communities better. But again, if we're taking it,
this is the last point. We gotta move it along, right? So just last point before I bring the next guy.
My last point is again, if you're taking it so far as to say that like basically imply that these women are doing something wrong, then I think you. But like, I think that at that point you're basically trying to say that like people shouldn't do this. People shouldn't be like it's not okay for anyone to be like overly sexual, or like maybe like a small percentage, but like the women who are doing this are like in the wrong essentially. And I think that's basically what you're saying, and that's what I have a problem with.
I don't think they're in the wrong. I think it, like we said earlier, it's the demand. I personally disagree with sex work because I think that sex work, in most cases around the world, globally, is exploitative, if not explicitly like coerced. And even within the porn industry in the West, you can look at how people have been coerced into situations, people have been taken advantage of, right? That being said, people engaging in OnlyFans is actually one of the few types of sex work that I think is safer than most types. But we still have to acknowledge that when you are sexualizing yourself on stream, you are fostering a community that is comfortable with commenting on your appearance, commenting on your body, commenting on personal things in your life, and that is going to affect other streamers around you.
Okay, thanks for coming on, Mr. Hammer.
All right.
We might have to have another panel on this at some point. But oh, Yamato, where'd you go? Yamato comes in.
It's difficult because I think people are just thinking that every time we criticize it, we're saying, oh, this is bad, this is evil. And it's like, it's hard to get that point across of not just saying that, but there are effects that we could just consider. I don't think that's inherently bad to have a conversation about it and see how it affects.
You can point out, and here's how I would say it. You can point out that if you do this, this is more likely to happen, right? And then we have to consider that, right? If you engage in this type of behavior, it promotes this type of action. I think that's fine. It doesn't even have to be a criticism. We could just observe this to happen. And you don't have to blame anyone for it. We don't have to put responsibility on anyone for it. But we have to sit with that. So if I knew, for example, if I was sitting in class and I knew maybe I was tapping on the desk or listening to some humming to some music I'm doing or something around, and someone comes and says, hey, you're distracting those around you, right? Like the humming you're doing, the little noises you're making, the little tapping, you're distracting those around you. We're all trying to kind of concentrate and things like this. We're not listening to your music. Maybe your music sucks, etc., etc., etc. Fair, right? I think that's not that's not telling me I'm bad or evil or listening to music is bad or evil or anything like that. It's saying, hey, what you're doing is having an effect. Take that into consideration. And I think that's perfectly fair to point out and to ask. Do you disagree? Any disagreements? Oh, Yamato's here. Let's bring him on for his last caller. Yamato!
Oh, okay. Last person. When we talk about like, oh wait, let me turn on my camera.
Okay.
And let me mute the stream.
Okay.
Hi, Amato.
Hey, how you doing, Stardust? Like, I still think when we talk about content and people growing, there's a lot of streamers, especially in the Twitch politics space, that still have untapped potential. They still haven't found that niche that they need to break out and to reach a bigger audience or to get more people to come watch. I think it's better to market and go out to other platforms and see what you can do. Like if you want to be the funny guy, be the funny guy on a different platform. Use TikTok, use other stuff if you want to grow. I'm not gonna sit here and I'm not gonna bash anybody for doing what they can or want to do to get views. Like I said, I'm not gonna. I can understand people having a big issue with people like showing up and like wearing literally almost nothing at all on stream and like literally getting like money just for like sitting in a hot tub or whatever. But like that's what they chose to do, right? There is some criticism that like people aren't reacting to the content well, or they're just not doing anything reactive and they're just getting free money because people are just there to look at them and like. But like I feel like instead of focusing on them, should be focusing on you yourself and how you want to get your content the way that you want. I think we all to look inwards and not like attack people for the things that they do. Like everybody has been there where they've been mad at the bigger streamer, but what are you doing to grow? I think 𝕬𝖎 was right. There is a lot of laziness that we do take part in. There's a lot of laziness that go in. Listen, I don't have a problem with people wanting to feed the drama cow or milk the drama cow or like however I would phrase it, right? But like if that is all that people see from you, that's all they're ever going to expect. And when you do like content that you want to differentiate to change the way that you do, kind of hard for me to explain. I haven't been on camera in a long time. My camera might phase out. I gotta fix it. Then people won't show up. I think diversify, work on your content. And there are some massive like female creators that don't do the titty streamer shit. They sit down and they play video games and they react and they talk about like stuff that's going on.
Comments, suggestions, thoughts?
Yeah,
I do completely agree with the diversify thing, because it's like I generally just don't believe that women have any responsibility to kind of like help other women, I guess, lift themselves up out of these spaces, because realistically, the person that just gets the most traction is kind of like literally the most original person that's able to spread their ideas the furthest in their spaces, instead of just like in their little cults, if that makes sense. Like there just needs to be different content, more female creators willing to do something different.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I think we may be losing a little bit of where I guess the disagreement was. I'm not really liking this idea that even if we criticize a little bit, it's going to be like, oh, we're tearing them down or we don't want them to be successful.
No, you want the platform to be better. I'm sorry for interrupting. You want them to be better, and you want the platform to be better, and you want the content to be better. That's
what I'm just looking for. And listen, that's why I literally keep saying, do whatever you want, make whatever money you got to make. I'm just saying we can talk about the over sexualization and how it affects different parts of Twitch or whatever platform you may be on. I think that's a completely fair conversation to have. Once again, it doesn't mean getting rid of that content that's already there. If it's working for you, that's great. I know other women who don't they just wear sweaters, they play League of Legends, right? Or Minecraft or something, right? So everyone has their own thing, but I think it's okay to criticize some things that we do see online and say, okay, how will this affect this community of people? I think inherently that's fine.
Thoughts, Stardust?
Yeah, I don't have any further thoughts on the topic really, but yeah, I agree with diversifying content.
Fair enough.
You know,
Fair
yeah.
enough.
So.
Okay, Yamato, I guess thanks for coming on. And I will
Always a
let you
pleasure.
go.
Nice meeting you, Yamato.
Nice.
I liked what you had to
Nice to meet
say.
you, Yamato.
Gang, I think we're circling the drain here. Okay. I think I want to apologize to my audience. This was a scuffed stream, right? We had some technical issues. We were late. I do apologize. However, I think the discussion did hit on some good points, and I'm looking forward to discussing with Mantis at some point about whether or not we have responsibility to our communities and to what extent. I'd love to have that sit down. I wish he had been able to stay for more time, but it is what it is. Gang, if you like this content, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you're on Twitch or on Kick, hit that follow button. Yeah, send me money, send me bits, send me subs. I want to give each of these lovely individuals a chance to shout themselves out and tell people where they can find them, and how to get a hold of them. If you have links, please put them in my chats, and people, go follow them. And we're going to start with Mid. Mid, go ahead.
You can simply just find me chilling on Discord. I don't use a lot of social media because it's simply just a job for me instead of like being an actual content creator. So, I mean, you can also just find me on at 𝕾𝖍𝖎𝖙, EXE, at Twitch. Oh my god, not Twitch. Twitter. And nice having me on, even though I'm totally wasted. Thank you so much.
Thanks for being
You're
here.
just vibing.
Yeah, thanks for engaging.
Okay, next up, Mooncake.
Yeah, I'm Mooncake. This is not what I do full time. I enjoy having these discussions. I mainly just play Minecraft in League of Legends. Discuss some like history topics. I'm a history nerd. I'm really into black holes, so if you want to talk about black holes, we could definitely do that. And you can find me at mooncakexo on Twitch.
Gang, check her out. She's great. Click that link. If you could post the link in my Twitch and YouTube chat so people can find you, that would be amazing. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate your comments. I do think we need another hot tub debate at some point, though. That will be interesting, and we'll see how that goes. Stardust disagrees with me. Stardust.
All right. I'm Stardust. I do politics and drama coverage on Twitch and on YouTube. You can find me Stardust on Twitch, Stardust streams on YouTube. I'm also working very hard on a video right now that should be coming out in the next day or so about the current conflict and the reactions to the conflict.
Can you give us a preview of that? Like, what's a teaser take or something that people can look forward to?
So I think that one interesting point on it is people keep sharing that same map, right? The Israel-Palestine map over the years, right? That map is not accurate. Is one of the things that I'll say. And a lot of the talking points that people are using in this conflict and are kind of dangerous talking points. I think they set precedents that we don't really want to set as progressives. I guess that, yeah, I'm just gonna be going into those. The first part of the video is essentially me going into specific talking points that I have issues with, and then the second part is specific creators that I have problems with and the way that they responded.
Specific creators. Ooh, gang. Ooh, it's gonna be some drama. It's gonna be some spice. Where can people follow or subscribe to so that they can maybe see that when it comes out?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube, youtube.com/starduststreams, or you can find all my links at links.fromstardust.net. So.
Gang, thank you all for coming here. Thank you all. I appreciate every single one of you. With that, we are going to raid out. Are any of you streaming currently and are going to continue to stream?
I'm going to Prime's stream now.
Okay, well, we can raid out to Prime stream.
Thank you again. It was nice.
Okay, see you guys
Nice
later.
engagement, everybody.
Bye. Say bye.